If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Now download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Now you're tuned in to Uncomfortable In-House Conversations with HB, the podcast.
Hello, welcome to Uncomfortable In-House Conversations with HB. I want to thank you guys for attending. This here is going to be a tearjerker, so to speak. Also, I want to apologize to my fans. It seems like it's been a minute that I've had a recording, but I everything that I do is pretty much intentional. So I intentionally decided to wait till this moment in time to get back and start. We're gonna have I have got a lot of good topics that I'm bringing to the table and a lot of great guests. Again, the point of this, like I told you when I first started, is a maturation process that I decided to come up with. Just for me, it's therapy. With that being said, I really didn't know what to call this episode because this episode could be and would be maybe at this moment in time the most difficult for me. I call it, this episode is going to be the day that the life that I knew changed forever. And with that being said, most of you guys know, like I said, a lot of the things that happened to me, how I got to this point was, and it's today, the 12th of December is the day my mother passed away. And it was very significant for me because it was traumatizing because not only mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it just changed my family dynamic, and you really don't know until you know. And that saying is very true. There's a lot of saying that's true until you know it happens to you. Is you never miss somebody until they're gone. So now what I decided to do, I'm going to go ahead and dive in. Follow me. For those who know, I kind of told the story, but it's some things that I must say, going through any kind of traumatic experience, what I've learned that our brain and our mental protects us. It shuns out certain significant situations for us because I just think it's a lock. It's kind of like a game. We unlock it as time goes on because maybe at the time we were not ready to take in that. And I think that's one of the things, that's a gift that God gave us. Now, with that being said, I preface my statement by saying I'm not a church person. I'm not holier than thou. I know a lot of my so my podcasts I always go back and reach. But what I can say is I know emphatically that God is real. And it's things that happen, especially in that situation, that even though it was very traumatic to me, and I know for a fact that God was there and He was present. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start. So, I'm going to go into first my parents. I grew up in a two-parent household. I like to brag about that in the time of day that we live in. But to say the least, I grew up. I had a great childhood. I'm going to say that. I was the first one, and pretty much everybody in my neighborhood, I'm going to say, we had a great childhood. I grew up, in the 5th grade, I was the only one that had a waterbed, Nintendo, computer. Side note, I was just bad as hell, so they needed to keep me busy as much as possible. So my father was retired. He worked for Sears for years. My mother, fortunately for her, she was blessed. She didn't have to work. She retired, and my dad pretty much took care of everything. So at this time of their life, needless to say, I guess it was a joy. Every day, whichever day of the week, they go to Denny's. They go to Denny's every week. I don't know what day they went to Denny's, but they go to Denny's. Side note, with me, one of the life changes that I had dealt with, because it was very important, I was going through a separation at the time. Just sold my house, and little did I know, I was trying to figure it out. Okay, so I'm going to start from 2 or 3 days prior to, I called it incident. And I ask you guys to bear with me, because this is very uncomfortable and it's hard, because I would like to think that I'm going to use this platform, not only hopefully I help someone, but also to be able to help myself to get past, because every year it does seem to get a little easier. But hey, what do I know? So, my parents, they go to Denny's every once out of the week. So what was told to me was, my dad said that, they were at Denny's, how they usually are, but my mother wasn't feeling well. So they were on their way going home. And as they were going home, before they were going home, my mom said she was having chest problems. And she was having problem breathing. So my dad said, do you want me to take you to the doctor, or would you like me to get your breathing apparatus? My mom, she's like, go ahead, go by the house, get the breathing apparatus. Cool. My dad said he got out, went inside the house, and when he went outside the house, he came back out. That's when he saw my mother would look like she was going into a seizure. He panicked. Closed the door, jumped in the car, because she was still in the car, and took her to the nearest hospital. Now, here's the thing. My dad took her to the nearest hospital. I hate this hospital. And not only I hate it, and most people hate it, because I don't know why. It just seems like people don't come back once they go to the hospital. It's Florida Medical. But that was the closest hospital he had to go to. So, again, I don't blame my father. I understand you do what you had to do at the time. So he said, pick my mama up, and he took her inside the emergency room, and they're beginning to work on her. Now, side note, I was home, I was place where I was at sleeping, and I must say that this is one of the things that changed me, and that's I don't turn my ringer off before I go to bed. Deeming, because at the time when I turned my ringer off, I woke up to 77 missed calls. Yeah, 77 missed calls. So, at the time I picked it up, my uncle called. He says, hey, I need you to come to the hospital. Situation happened with your mom. Situation happened. I said, okay, not a problem, I'm coming. My sister called me now. If anybody knows my little sister, she's very melodramatic. Everything is the end of the world. with that being said, I don't know why. I'm one of those people that when things happen, no matter how serious they are, for whatever reason, things slow down for me. It's like one of the movies when you see the bullets going and everything go by you and it slows down. That's how I function. In chaos because I'm processing everything. So I'm taking it in, I'm getting myself together, and I'm trying not to get too high, not too low. I'm just trying to have an even keel because I don't know what I'm about to walk into. So at the time I park, I come out, I'm met at that moment by my ex-wife, and she's trying to fill me in the details. I say, give me a moment, and I walk in, I'm looking at my dad, he looks very disheveled. Now I think about it, maybe he kind of checked out for a moment. But I look, and my mom have all these things hooked up to her. She has these things hooked up to her head, which I was familiar with because I had that when I had a seizure, because I had a little small seizure. So I had it. So I saw that's what they were doing. So I asked him, if I remember, I asked him if he was okay. My dad, everything with him, he's okay. He puts on a face. So I went to my mom at this point in time. They got medication in her. She's calm. I grab her hand. Hey, you all right? So she kind of smiled. I was like, if you miss me, you should have just said that. You don't have to do all that for me to come. Now, side note, me and my mom, we bump heads a lot. We didn't get along. Wasn't a hatred thing, but we were exactly just alike. And previously, I was upset with my mom a little bit, knowing fact that because 6 months prior to that, my grandfather passed away, Super B. And for whatever reason, which I know I don't care to disclose right now, but my mom didn't go to the funeral, and I was really upset. I was hurt. I was very hurt. And I felt that I was taking a stand. And I'm going to say this for people. If you don't know what someone's situation is, if you don't know their past, learn to give people grace. One of the things I try to do every morning, when I go to bed or wake up, I pray and I ask God for the act of discernment. And that's it. Just to try to figure things out, to go through things, because the world that we live in today, it will have you spinning. So with that being said, I'm taking everything in. My dad, we're talking. One of the things that I must say that I have to forgive myself for, and I'm upset with myself, was I get on people all the time, and this is one of the things that at this moment of time I just didn't do, and that's reading the room. I just didn't read the room. Yeah, took her up to ICU, and when I said I didn't read the room, I'm looking at the oxygen, and my mother went from 98% of breathing to 85. That's a big drop into oxygen, and she's getting oxygen, and she's breathing. The machine is breathing for her. I don't know why. I wish things I could have said, things maybe I could have done. I know in hindsight there was nothing I could have done. It's just what it is. Now, this is a learning moment, teaching moment. I hope somehow this finds someone who goes into this situation. I pray that they don't. I want you to understand, anybody who has a relative or just you yourself, I need you to understand it is very important for you to go to the hospital in which your doctor goes to and conducts, service for. It is very important for you to go, you or your family member, to go to that doctor because they have your records. They know everything about you, and they can get in contact with that doctor like that, which was one of the issues that we had. My mother's doctor had no affiliation with that hospital, so they basically was going on provisions and things that we explained to her, explained to the doctor what was going on. So my mother had heart issues. My mother had open heart surgery 3 times in her life. So even at that point, it was a blessing that she's lived that long. Matter of fact, she was told, my grandmother told me, my mom wasn't even supposed to have kids. My mom had open heart surgery when she was a baby. She had open heart surgery when she was in high school, her senior year. And the last time she had open heart surgery was my senior year. So, yeah, needless to say, a very strong individual. Bear with me, y'all. I'm sorry. This is I'm trying to get through this as gracefully as possible and try to be authentic as I can and to relive in this moment. With that being said, I said earlier, there were things that I may have pushed in the back of my head that I didn't remember that is see it just as is of yesterday. So, take my mom to ICU, go upstairs, we're talking, joking, everybody talking. I think my dad, bless his heart, he's oblivious to a lot of things. On top of that, my grandmother, I could see she was having a hard time because, like I said before, previously, 6 months earlier, she lost her husband. And come 6 months forward, her first child is in the hospital and she don't know what's going on. Also, side note, my grandmother was a teenage parent. So having my mom and going through a lot of stuff, they kind of like grew up together, just trying to figure it out. So this was very, very, very hard for her. Even now, I dare to kind of have a conversation with her because I can see the pain and the hurt. Because as we all know, what's the saying? We're supposed to. It's not normal to bury your child. Your child's supposed to bury you. But at the time, that was nowhere near what we were thinking about. So, in turn, that happens. We're sitting, we're talking, and again, I'm starting to put things together. I'm starting to pay attention to a lot of stuff that's happening. Looking at my dad, talking to him. Go upstairs, talk to my mom, making jokes like, yo, you need to hurry up and get better because my sister and her kids are running amok. And by the time you get out, you're probably going to go back into the hospital and have a whole heart attack because if you see what's going on right now, you going to lose it. We kind of laugh. Little did we know, yeah. They ran amok. But that's another story for another day. So, fast forward, being there, talking, and also too, so when I say, I use the word me believing in God, it's not just that, it's because things have happened to me that only a higher being itself could be able to show himself in real time, good or bad, it happened, and I can only speak for myself. So, unapologetically, it's my story to tell. I'm not trying to convince anybody. Yeah. So, okay. Fast forward the day, 3 days before, so the third day, I'm sitting down, everybody's talking. This day is very significant. I want you to put a pin in this. Close your eyes as I'm speaking about it. My dad kind of motions for me to come here. I look at him. I'm kind of tired, hungry. So it's motions for me to come here again. I get up and walk, and we kind of walk away from the area where people at. And I'm like, what's up? And he starts to speak, and he's like, hey, I want you to know. And as he's speaking, my sister walks up. And my dad pauses, and he looks at her, and he says, Danielle, I want to speak to your brother alone. Can you give us a moment? My sister gets upset. Like I told y'all earlier, my sister's, people that know, she's very melodramatic. Very, very, very melodramatic. So she gets upset. She goes to 10. She has a temper tantrum. Why y'all do this? It's my mama too. Y'all always want to keep things from me. Da-da-da-da-da-da. I get aggravated. I say, fuck it. I walk off. I want y'all to remember that moment. I walk off, so I don't know what my dad is going to tell me. I don't have no idea of what he's going to tell me. Walk downstairs, and I'm just trying to take everything in. Also, I'm trying to adjust because from earlier I said I had a very good childhood. My house used to be the spot. My house was the place where everybody would go. We would go swimming. We would have parties. My house, when I would be in college, my friends would come over and stay when I ain't there. Like, that was just how my parents rolled. My mama talked shit, but she just didn't turn people away. My dad, I make a joke all the time. The ones that know, I call him Bill Cosby. And no, I don't mean Bill Cosby, the one that put the shit in the women's drink or make them take the drugs to get right. I mean the Bill Cosby, the Heathcliff Huxtable Bill Cosby. That's just how my family rolled, and that's my that's my foundation. And for me, I could always go back to that. No matter how bad it was, no matter what happened in the world, my house was my foundation. They were my foundation. No matter how bad my mom got on my damn nerves. A lot of times I didn't understand. I didn't think at one point she liked me, to be totally honest. But it wasn't that. She saw so much into me that I didn't see myself, and she was frustrated. Now, so, moving forward, again, me and my dad didn't have a conversation. I'm taking in, I'm trying to, again, be there, console my grandmother, just make sure everybody's okay. But never in a million years did it cross my mind that it was going to go into the direction that it went into. Also, too, this was a year before COVID, pre-COVID. So all these things, it matters. I'm explaining. So, talking and, again, like I said, my parents, going back a little bit further, just a lot of stuff growing up, and, my dad was able to, work through and go through with retirement, Also, too, I kind of experienced, things that my dad disclosed to me later on in life, which I feel good about, knowing I'm being in the right track. Because, again, side note, we live in the day and time of everything is you have to have this, and everybody had to have this shit together. And then women say you have to have this, and you have to have that. And my dad kind of disclosed to me that, for him, that's kind of like real love. My dad came up in a situation where, growing up in a dysfunctional household, and my dad was a boxer. He used to box, and my dad and my uncles, my grandmother was great grandmother, but she wasn't the person that I know, at the time of them growing up. And again, it's not for me to judge. I get it. But at the time, my dad had to deal with a lot. So he met, he was married previously, and, he disclosed to me he wasn't ready to get married. He wasn't in love. He just did what you do. You get married to a person to have your baby, you think you're doing the right thing. So, needless to say, after that happened with happened with his first wife, he looked at it like, I got 2 kids. At the time, I'm just retiring from boxing, and I'm trying to put up a trade like nobody wants me. And in his words, he met my mom. Actually, they all grew up together, but my dad is like 6 years older than my mom. So, but funny story, he always say my grandmother and my family, my mom's family, that love him so much. He said at first they didn't take much care for him because they looked at him, not because he was a bad person, but because he had baggage. He had 2 kids, he had a divorce. Mom was young, she had nothing. She had good care, she had good credit, college, she was working. Like, what you gonna do with this man? And he says that, he's told me that everybody knows the aftermath of the story because they look at it like, wow, your dad took care of your mom and she didn't have to work. But, my dad told me, like, for 4 years, he says, his ex-wife at the time, child support, alimony, and he just didn't have good credit. And my mom told him, I just need you to focus on you and pay everything you need to pay, and I'll handle all the rest of the bills. So for 4 years, my mom took care of my dad. In this day and time, we know a lot of people complain, they'll talk shit, but within that, her believing in him, helping him, he ended up getting himself together, working for Sears, putting in air conditioning at the time. That was like really big back then because that was something that nobody could be able to do. A lot of people didn't do. And, other things he did. So my dad was bringing a lot of money. So, but needless to say, he took care of my mom. And again, I'm only bringing this up because I was fortunate to see the ups and downs, the goods and bad of their marriage. And that always stuck with me. And I know a lot of times my mom, she probably didn't think I got it, but I want her to know I got it. I did. So, I'm sorry, I'm paraphrasing because I'm trying to take my time. So, again, going through the day, the next day, I just start seeing things changing. So now, her breathing apparatus go from 88 to 80 to 77. That's how much the machine is breathing for her now. Next day, the night of, I get up and I couldn't sleep. I just couldn't sleep. I don't know. I had this pressure on my chest, on my head, on my soul. I just couldn't sleep, and it just sat with me. And I've never felt that before. Never felt that after that. But it just felt an overwhelming pressure. And I didn't know what I needed to do. So I got up and I said, I'm going to go to the hospital. So I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I went to the hospital. Not knowing I went to the hospital because pretty much that's done at the hospital is where the doctor's office. Where the doctor come in at very early. They do their rounds and they're there early. So I go to ICU. My mom's sleeping. And I'm holding her hand. I'm, rubbing her. And the doctor comes in. And I say, hey, doc. And he says, hey, you're Junior. And I'm like, yeah. He said, just the person I wanted to see. Now, again, I'm looking like Scooby-Doo, like, huh? He says, yeah. He said, previously, yesterday, your father told me that he wanted to, that you are the one that's going to make all the decisions moving forward. Now, again, I'm looking crazy. Like, what do you mean, make all the decisions? He says, your dad told me that he gives all permission and any decisions made, it has to come through you. At the moment, I'm looking like, wow, okay, we didn't discuss this, but okay, let me take this in. So I said, okay, well, doc, what's going on with my mom? So he says, so I'm going to say this. When your mom came in, we were told that, she had heart problems. And that's the first thing we did. We gave her a lot of medication. Then we tried to put her on blood thinners on top of she was having a stroke. That's what we knew. And we didn't have any of our medical records. We just went by y'all word of mouth. And we didn't talk to her doctor until yesterday. And we recently did an MRI, and the sole problem that happened with your mama is your mother has pneumonia. So I said, pneumonia? So he said, yes. So he went on, which I appreciate the doctor because he explained it to me in detail how pneumonia works. So he says, the problem with pneumonia, why is it a silent killer, is because you get inflammation and you get a lot of mucus inside your lungs. Now, here's the thing. When you get your lungs and it gets to be filled, there is nothing you can do because it's not like, I can cut in and have an operation to remove the mucus or suck it out. You just have to take the medication and hope that your body is strong enough to be able to fight until the medication works itself in. That was a lot to take in and to process at the moment. Pardon me. Yeah, it was a lot. So, in so many words, I said, so y'all were giving her a lot of medication and stuff that she didn't need it because it was pneumonia. He says, unfortunately, yes. So I said, okay, so what's the plan? So he says, well, I'm glad that you asked me that. So he says, so what we're going to do, the procedure that we're going to do is we're going to paralyze her from the waist down. Because the problem is, every time your mother moves, she's using oxygen. And as you see, because of her condition and every other thing, issues with her, it's putting too much stress on her organs and it's causing other issues. So hoping that we do is paralyzing her from the waist down, that she moves less, and we're gonna do another procedure where we're gonna take her blood and we're gonna take it out and put it back in, kind of like what they do with dialysis, and hoping that it oxygenizes and give her more time, and hopefully, with her blood, with oxygenized, the medication, kicks in, the antibiotics kicks in, and she's able to fight. And she pushes through, and, hopefully that the lung, she said, because her left lung is completely filled. And we'd be able to, whatever, which I didn't know. In so many words, he was explaining to me that it was damn near a miracle because her left lung was filled and her right lungs was starting. And because of her heart conditions and every other issues that she had, it was almost impossible. I'm understanding that now, but at the time, dealing with that, I just didn't get it. So, here's the thing. At that moment, he said the most gut-wrenching thing to me, and this is where everything changed for me at that moment. I make a joke. A lot of times I make jokes about a lot of things when I get uncomfortable about stuff. It's just my thing. It's my thing. So bear with me. He said, but if none of that works, then what is it you would like for me to do? So the joke for me is, at that moment of time when he said that, shit just got real. Because never in a million years at a point of my time did I ever think that. I thought, sick, gonna fight it, gonna be in the hospital for a couple of days. I'm gonna have to deal with her attitudes. I'm gonna have to, deal with my sister crazy ass, her kids, and we're gonna have to clean up because she can't do it. I'm just thinking about everything other than that. That was a lot. So, I'm sorry. So at that moment of time, I had to take it in. So I told the doctor, I looked at him and I said, let's cross that bridge if it gets to that. Now, one of the things I left out that I don't know, my mind protected me or whatever, but I can see it just as like it's yesterday. We're talking to my mom right next to us. And again, they were doing that and she's supposed to be kind of sedated. And she grabs my hand. She grabs my hand, she squeezes it. And in so many words, it's kind of like letting me know that it's okay. So I look down and I kiss her hand. The doctor put his hands on my shoulder and he says, I'll let you two be alone. She didn't open her eyes, but I whispered in her ear. And, I made a joke like, Almedia, you're not doing this. You're not going to leave me with your crazy ass daughter and your damn clueless husband. I kind of laughed. And I don't know if she did, but she kind of moved her fingers. It was kind of like, for me, it was kind of like a laugh. We made a joke. But I told her I got her. So, that happened. Early in the morning. Now, everybody's coming to the hospital. Everybody's talking. Grandma, looking at her, is taking a toll on her. Because again, this is her firstborn. She just lost her husband 6 months ago. I think at the time, my aunt, she's trying to find a flight to come down. Matter of fact, she don't know what's going on. She's like, just keep me posted. Because we don't know until we know. A little bit, my dad was kind of like in a delusional state. I'm not mad at him for that because he didn't know. He didn't get it. So I go downstairs, I start eating breakfast, and this is where things start changing for me. I get a phone call at the time from my ex-wife, and I just hear her screaming, asking me where I'm at. I need to come upstairs. At the time I'm coming upstairs, I hear Cold Blue. They're running a Cold Blue. Again, this is all new to me. Everybody's in the lobby. They're looking at me. I'm looking at them. My dad say, go. Now, coincidentally, that was funny. It was crazy because at that time, I kind of realized, being in the moment, that's when everything changed for me in the relationship with me and my dad. Not a bad thing, but it's an old saying where the son becomes the father and the father becomes the son. At that moment, that actually happened. So I go into ICU and I see something that I've never witnessed before, and I pray to God that I never have to. And if anybody has witnessed this too, I send my prayers and compassion to you. I see them on top of my mom, pressing down, trying to resuscitate her. It was kind of like something out of, ER or, these hospital movies. So they're on top of her, like beating her chest, hitting and just, breathing in all of this. And in that moment, they bring her back. Cool. But it wasn't cool because now I'm looking at my mom's body. It just didn't look the same. Her chest looks black and blue. Her neck, it just didn't look the same. And I could never get that picture out of my face. I can't get that out. So I turn around, go back out. Hey, they resuscitate her. My dad, again, I don't think he's really understanding the seriousness of everything that's coming on. So he's like, okay, she's fighting. It's going to be okay. She's going to be right back complaining, fussing. And 45 minutes after that, she colds again. They bring her back. 30 minutes later, she colds again. So all the time that she's colding, I'm in there by myself. So this is one of the things, again, where I say I believe in God. Because at that moment, I don't know what it was. It was a certain peace came over me. I haven't felt like that ever, where this decision that I'm about to make is I just knew what to do. It was one of the things that happened without saying. I just knew what to do. So I took a deep breath. I walked out. I called my grandmother, I called my dad, and I called my sister. And I said, okay, so what are we going to do? Now, mind you, remember I told you guys, me and my mom, we bump heads a lot. So my grandma kind of falls, slumps over, start crying, and she's like, no, I'm holding her. My sister looks at me and she's like, this is so easy for you. And I said, baby girl, this is not easy for me. My dad looks at me and said, whatever decision you make, I support it. That was new, but it was like he knew something that I didn't. So I turned around and I told my sister, I'm going to go in and I'm going to let them resuscitate her one more time if she does it. But it's something that I'm going to need from you. And my sister's crying, she's hitting me. And I said, baby girl, this is something that you need to do. And again, when I say I ask God for discernment, it's because I know. Because I know if what I asked my sister to do, if she did not do this, this will forever haunt her and forever haunt me, and I would not hear the end of it. And I told her, after I call it, I need you to sign these papers, which means you're going to have to sign the DNR. So she's like, I'm not signing anything. I'm not going to kill my mother. And I says, pumpkin, baby sister, you're not killing your mom. Mom is not there anymore. And it's just like, I just knew. So I walked into, and as I'm walking in, they resuscitate her, they bringing her back, and I go to the doctor and I said to him, listen, I'm going to let you resuscitate my mom one more time, and then after that, we're going to call it. My sister's going to sign the papers. He pulled me to the side, and he said to me, I just want to thank you. I don't supposed to be talking about this, but again, I don't know if you believe in God, but your mom is not there. That's just It's just a body. Wherever she's not there. We have to, by law, continue if you want me to. It is taxing. Because I'm listening to Bones Crush. I just couldn't do it. So I go get my sister. I bring her out. And she's falling out. She's crying. And I'm literally holding her hand. I'm like, baby girl, you have to sign this. This is not up for a debate. So I'm holding her hand while she's signing the paper. And she codes. And at that moment I told him, that's it. I let my sister go. I walk up to my mom. They're unplugging her and everything. And I tell her, I apologize for anything that I've done to her, or maybe she felt that I did wrong, or if I disappointed. I'm sorry. I love her, and I forgive her for anything that I felt that she did to hurt me or disappoint me. But I'm going to try my best to be able to deal with it. And I hope she's at peace, because I'm going to try my best to be at peace. And I promised her, my dad, I got him. I still hold tight to that. I told her she don't have to worry about it. Little did I know, like, damn, I ain't realized all the shit she had to deal with my dad now. But, hey, this is what I signed up for. Now, side note, making a joke, which is still went through, I told her, as far as your daughter, I don't know if I can deal with that. Like, that's a monster y'all created. I'm going to try my best, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. Needless to say, to people that know me, yeah, no, I can't do it. Learning to love people from afar. But, yeah, so we sat down, and my mom, she took her last breath at approximately 5:45 that evening. So she held on for 3 or 4 more hours. I watched her take her last breath. It was a lot. Also, too, side note, I not mad at them. I understand. It's just part of the story. Again, at that time earlier, they was telling my aunt my mama wasn't going to make it, so she jumped on the next plane over. But the problem was, her and my uncle at the time, they selfishly, and in hindsight, I get it, it was, something that they was dealing with, their own guilt, because again, just like I was upset with my mom, they was upset with their sister too, because, previously. And they didn't get to say goodbye. So at the moment of time, they were kind of upset. They didn't understand why my dad didn't wait for them. And I stepped up, and I was, it bothered me, because I was like, how dare you? Like, you don't get to question my dad. Like, I'm the one that made the decision, and you don't understand what I had to deal with watching them be on top of my mom like that. I was not going to do that just for y'all to, have some kind of closure. You're going to have to get it some other kind of way. So that happened. People coming in, letting people know, it's time. My mom, she passed. Body's still out for right now. We're at the hospital. My dad is tired. He's taxed. So I get up and tell him to come on. Let's go home. Let's take, let's, have a moment. Now, if you remember earlier in the segment, I was explaining in my story, me and my dad never got a chance to have that conversation because when my sister came and did. This is where one of the things that why I'm at peace, but it's still hard for me to deal with certain aspects of what happened. So we're in the car. My dad kind of looks at me. He smiles. Now again, the people that know my dad, this is the moment when me and my mom, we are just alike. And I hate to say it, when we aggravated, we don't have time for fuck shit. So we get annoyed. So my dad does this thing where when he wants to say something, he says it, and it's like pridefully, like, and he looks at me and he says, "I know everything that you're going through, in your marriage and things not going right in your life, but I want you to know that God is present." So I'm looking at him like, look, I don't have time for this shit. Like, don't give me the God speech. I'm really not trying to hear it. I just lost my mom. You just lost your wife. And I know this might be your way to cope, but this ain't what it's doing for me. So leave me the fuck out of that with the God shit. Forgive me, I'm sorry. So he's like, coincidentally, me and your mom, again, I told you guys they go to Disney. So he says, approximately 2.5 weeks ago, me and your mom was at Denny's. And we saw a family, we saw a couple that we normally would see. They wasn't there. And one of the ladies told me that the husband passed away, and it was kind of like a big thing because they had to make the decision. And we were talking, me and your mom was talking, and I was saying if something happened to me and a decision needed to be made, I wanted her to make the decision. She's my wife. I trust whatever she says. I want her to make the decision. He says, and I can see it as if it was yesterday. Your mom looked at me so seriously, and she says, if something happened to me, I want my son to make the decision. Now, again, going back to what I was saying, me and my mom, at the time, we were not on good terms. So he kind of he looked at her laughing, like, you sure you want him to make the decision? Like, you sure him? Like, y'all always, but like, you sure? And he said, I can see it as clear as day. Your mom got serious, and she said, yes. Because you would keep me. He says, because you wouldn't be able to make the right decision. And my daughter would keep me on life support too long. My son is the only one that I know for a fact to be able to make the right decision. And I trust him. So I'm asking you, if it ever comes a point of time that happened, I'm asking you to allow him to make that decision. That still kind of runs chills through me because, again, my dad, that's what he was trying to explain to me before my sister came up. He was trying to tell me that whatever decision I needed to make, he wanted me to make it, and she wanted me to make it. But again, I didn't get a chance to have that conversation because what happened, and that's when I knew God was present in that moment, in that whole situation, to the fact that I made a decision knowing without no doubt that that was what I needed to do. And yeah, so I want you guys to, I want to say thank you. Again, this is my story. This is my process that I'm dealing with. By far, this is the hardest. I've been going back and forth of would I be able to do it. I've been holding back a lot of my emotions all day. I'm really good at compartmentalizing a lot of things, but today was hard because probably when I get off this, I'm going to break. And it just takes so much out of you because I've been holding in so long. So I just want to be able to share this, and hopefully I make it easier for somebody else, and educate some people with the things that I went through. And I just overall want you to know that anything that happens, we should always be able to get past, because there not always tomorrow. And once that is gone, that person is gone, there is no coming back. So again, I appreciate you guys for allowing me to tell my story and you being here in it. just bear with me. It's gonna get better. It's gonna be a ride. So again, thank you for tuning in to Uncomfortable In-House Conversations with HB. And I want to try to leave you with one of my HB-isms. And this is, learning to stay in a moment is priceless. Because once it's past, you will never be able to get it back. Thank you guys, and you have a great night.